Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared with Self Liquid Trading. And sorry, I'm running a little bit late this afternoon, but got about 15 minutes left here in the close. And if you were with me this morning during the opening session, um, we talked a lot about how the indexes, in my opinion, are, kind of going into the end of last week, had met a point where it was, if nothing else, just time for a breather. So I'm pulling up a chart of the NASDAQ cash here, so NDX, and you can see here on the 78-minute chart, the hourly chart basically for most people, that it has come back into the mean, which to me is basically the 34 moving average exponential. But this squeeze here is indicating that at least over the next, probably beginning of next day's session, possibly a little longer, we should see downside activity. Now, right now, let me actually pull it up on the future ran already. So you can see that, we could get a meaningful pullback here in the NASDAQ if we get back just basically from the low to high here. Now, let me make sure. Actually, let me rerun this here. All right, so if you take a look at this, so I mean, this puts us below 6,500, so 6,450, would be basically the first target there in the NASDAQ. So the next thing we can run is from the high here to the low here to the high here. Perfect. So that gives us really a kind of a more meaningful target in my mind, which is really at the top of where price had consolidated before the previous kind of run up. Now, if we were to draw like a trend line just to see kind of how this thing has traded. Now, trend lines are incredibly subjective, so I wouldn't pay them a ton of mind, but you can see here that this aligns at least pretty nicely for, if nothing else, sideways movement to downside movement. Now, with the test of this kind of area, with what we talked about just a moment ago, with sort of the squeeze setting up there, you could see my chart is acting a bit up here. There we go. So uh, it's just something to consider. And if we take a look at the FANG index, so this is something, I think it's important to really look at, just because the FANG stocks are so big, and when they move, they tend to kind of pull the market with them in whatever direction that is. So just looking at this once again, 78 minutes or around an hourly time frame seems to be kind of the control, if you will. Right now, the FANG index has closed within the last 2 hours below this 34, and the way I look at that is anything below is bearish and anything above is bullish. So if we just kind of take a look at this, let's just kind of project some targets here. And it's not that you can trade this as like an actual index, but it's really just to kind of give us an idea of, where the FANG stocks as a whole may be headed. And I mean, this actually works pretty well. So you can see, the first kind of area that this is something like, probably a 3% move roughly. So in the FANG stocks, you could probably see something, on some of them even bigger. Now, Facebook has been the one where I think it's still up on the day, where throughout the, basically most of the session, it's been up where everything else has been down. So we'll just start with Facebook actually. So looking here at Facebook, you can see that it too has a 78-minute squeeze. And come on. You can see really here that, it's had a pretty nice day up, 1.5 or 1 1/3%. Now, Facebook is something that I really just don't like. long term. I mean, to me, honestly, this could be an opportunity to short it here. What I've noticed a lot lately is they've set up sort of traps in the afternoon for the morning. So it'll be something to where, it looks kind of bullish going into the afternoon or into the close. You get sort of that action in the morning with the reversal. It hasn't been like that every time, but it's just something I've noticed quite a few times with the kind of crazy volatile action we've seen. Is that you could start, down 1% and, by before lunch, be up something like, 0.5%, if not more. So let's jump over to Apple. So just looking at Apple here, it's gaining some momentum just here on a 5-minute chart. You can see it's starting to sell. I mean, we're, you know, no bids. There we go. So the squeeze here is firing short. And, the first target would probably be something like 149. What is the low? 149.22. That'll be the first area it's going to at least pause. Now, if we go to the daily chart, we can take a look and see what our next kind of downside target would be. So we never took out 140.82, and that seems like a pretty good spot for it to retest. I mean, you can see we got real close back on the 3rd. Apple just can't catch a break. I mean, it's sort of trading, like Facebook did. Facebook was really the first tech stock that we saw break earlier in the year. They had really just a lot of problems, amidst the scandals with, I can't remember the name, but something Atlantica. Um, and we saw, Zuckerberg testify in front of Congress. There's just been a lot of issues. There's a new product that every time I see it, I kind of just make fun of it because it seems like Facebook is, I don't know, something like 5 years late to the game with their portal, I think is what it's called. It's basically just, a desktop type tablet that I suppose is supposed to be, um, I guess technically mobile, but stationary, that it just kind of stays in one spot in your home and you can kind of talk to it with family. But I mean, Amazon has this, obviously, with all the tablets. You can do basically the same thing with FaceTime. So it's just kind of an odd thing. I think that Facebook spent all this, probably time developing, unless they're licensing technology from another company here. It seems kind of crazy to me that um, they're getting in the physical media space in that way. I totally get the idea of wanting control of the hardware and the software, where for the longest part, I mean, Facebook is really just software. Uh, I'm trying to think. I know they bought or in um, virtual reality with buying. I'm trying to remember the company, but uh, anyway, to me, it was just sort of a bust. I mean, it just seems like they're so late to the game now. I guess earnings will tell if that's been successful. I just can't imagine that it will be. It seems like they're really pushing it super hard here recently, and I just don't know a single person that owns one and would buy one. Just given the fact that your computer can do it, your tablet can do it, your phone can do it. And as I saw someone put it, it's like, do you really want to trust Facebook with one more microphone and camera in your home? So definitely, I think, a good way to put it. But anyway, so we got about 4 minutes left here in the close. Didn't really even make it through much more than the FANG stocks, but to me, this is something I trade a lot, and I think they really are some of the most important stocks in the market. Not to say they're the most important and only thing you need to look at. Obviously, banks and things like that make a big portion. Energy makes a big portion. There's plenty of things to look at, but um, these are the ones I spend the most time looking at. And just kind of going into the close, let's kind of look at the indexes one more time. And really just nothing here that gets me super excited. You can see it's starting to, kind of getting this rounded top here now. The question really ultimately is this just a brief pullback to the upside before we continue higher? Um, in my opinion, and what I'm still positioned for is a move lower. So just got 3 minutes left. Let's take a look at gold. So for those of you that have been following along, I got smashed in Newmont mining. Uh, all the signals look good, but over the weekend, I guess maybe actually this morning or yesterday, they announced that they were buying Gold Corp to become the largest mining company in the world. And Gold Corp was up, I think, 11%, um, 8% right now. But at one point, it was really flying. And Newmont Mining just got hammered in the opposite direction. And so, I mean, I had some calls on this, and they definitely got banged up. But I was up pretty nicely in the trade. I'd been in it for maybe a week, maybe not even that long. But anyway, it's just one of those things where news sometimes is going to get you. And as long as you're not position size, like a fool, you're not going to get, in too much trouble. This one was painful just because the trade was going so well. And, from just a signal kind of perspective, um, it looked good. This is sort of like one of those things where I use a lot of kind of pilot analogies and just, I'm not a pilot, but, the idea that you look at your indicators like instruments, every once in a while you're going to get a seagull in the engine, and there's nothing you can kind of do about that. And this is kind of how I look at that situation, is like, yeah, it sucks. I think it's going to recover. It's not necessarily bad news, but from an investor, that obviously tightens the budget, if you will, if you're buying a company for billions of dollars. So I still like gold and metals long as a whole. I just so happen to pick the wrong one. And, there's something to kind of think about or learn from, is just, if you're long, say something like this, or in this case, the metals, I could have got long both GG and NIM. And, that somewhat uh, helps spread your risk a little bit. If you're long tech, you can get long multiple tech products, while staying within your position sizing. Instead of buying, say, 5 or 10 contracts of NIM, I could have bought 5 of NIM. And, I'm not saying, one for one necessarily, the stocks are different prices, things like that. But however, the money actually spreads out, where just for easy math, or, the ease of the explanation, you could do 5 and 5, and there was the close there. So anyway, I will live to fight another day. Definitely kind of sucks. It was just nothing that I saw coming. There may have been news or maybe rumors, but nothing I caught wind of. I did see, like I said, the reports this morning, because I wondered. I woke up and I noticed, the tech stocks were moving in the right direction. The Nasdaq was moving in the right direction, but NIM definitely was not. And I just did not expect it to get banged up as bad as it did here. And anyway, that's just how it goes. So I appreciate you tuning in. If you're enjoying these, please subscribe. Definitely motivates me to keep doing this. So you have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.